Well, today's going to be a real blast from the past because we have Hulk Hogan and Linda Hogan getting called out by their daughter, Brooke Hogan. We have Erika Jayne, who's headed to trial for the Tom Girardi scandal that I thought we finally put to rest. And then we have Candace Owens, who's fighting with Jessica Reed Krause from House Inhabit about Blake Lively and Harvey Weinstein and Ryan Reynolds and Meghan McCain. What does Meghan McCain have to do with it? I don't know, but we're going to get into all of it. Let's dive in. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's up, guys? Welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on in. What's going on? So much to get into today. Well, sort of. It's like really weird that like Hogan knows best. Did you guys like? I was like, what in the 2005 on VH1? Remember Hogan Knows Best from VH1? That was quite the throwback. But yeah, it's strange because we haven't talked about Brooke Hogan in years, and it's mainly because she's kind of gone quiet. She's like really walked away. She used to do music. She had her show. She had Brooke Knows Best, which was her spinoff show. And I just feel like, I don't know, something about it is very, very strange. Look at you guys. I learned, by the way, how to do not disturb. And apparently it works on both my phone and it works on the laptop, which somebody tried to tell me in the live chat yesterday. I'm like, that's not true. They're separate devices. Oh, no town hall today. Oh my God, I just fell out of a coconut tree. You're right. Fridays are town hall days. I forgot today was Friday until I woke up and I was like, oh, it was Friday. I actually wanted to have on the two lawyers, Ask Two Lawyers. I wanted to have those guys back on because I wanted them to explain the Erika Jayne situation and talk about like the statute of limitations, because we'll get into all of that with why she's being pulled into trial and why this is moving forward, even though we thought that this was all settled a long time ago. But let's start with, well, you know what's funny is I was on Twitter or X this morning, and Queens of Bravo tweeted this from the GLAAD Awards, which I went to the GLAAD Awards last year. I didn't go this year. I don't get invited to many of these events anymore since I started dragging them. But so I guess the GLAAD Awards presented Real Housewives of New York as the best outstanding reality program of the year, which to me was funny because I was like, dude, like this feels like a coconut tree moment because they really expect us to believe that that was worthy of reality show of the year. And then it was also just hilarious that they had Raquel be the star, the TV star of the Real Housewives of New York. Like, what a garbage show that was. So I just thought that that was funny. And then Queen's Bravo was like, oh my God, amazing. And then everyone's like, amazing. And I was like, you guys realize like, these like you have to self-submit for these shows. And I was like, what did they even go up against? They went up against Wayne Brady, Tokyo Styles. I don't even know who that is. Southern Charm, Big Freedia Means Business. Never heard of that. Queer Eye that I didn't even realize was still on the air. What are they in the 12th season of Queer Eye? And then they also had Bargain Block on HGTV. So that's how Real Housewives of New York won Best Outstanding Reality Show at the GLAAD Awards. They beat Bargain Block for me on HGTV. And I was like, wow, amazing. And then they had Raquel accept the award. And I was like, wow, so cool. Big Freedia has my vote. She seems like a great time. I don't even know who she is. Who is Big Freedia? I don't know. These are probably like RuPaul's Drag Race spinoffs or whatever. But okay, let's start with Brooke Hogan. We'll get into the Candace Owens of it all, and then we'll talk about Erika Jayne too. But let's start with Brooke Hogan because I feel like this has the most meat, the most teeth. So Linda Hogan, Hulk Hogan's ex-wife, she just posted this video on her Instagram account. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with the family, obviously, I mean, come on, you've heard of Hulk Hogan. He's now like, super big in, the pro-Trump MAGA world because he's like a big Trumper and he's like, vote for Donald Trump. And he like rips his shirts off at the rallies. And so they used to have this show back in 2005, is I think when it started. It went for 3 seasons. It was called Hogan Knows Best. Eventually, there was a spinoff called Brooke Knows Best. And so Brooke is his daughter. They also have Nick, who is the son as well. And so Hulk Hogan, because I was like, what happened to Hulk? Like, where did he end up? Like, what happened to him? And we'll get to Linda in just a second. But so I guess Hulk Hogan now has he married his yoga instructor, which, okay, strange. And so he's, I guess, now married. Brooke is also now married. Linda, I don't believe, is married. She looks like a hot ass mess herself. But so Hogan Knows Best. It was actually a really popular show on VH1 for a long time. Or well, it carried on for a while. And then it seemed like the family went estranged because right after Hogan Knows Best, then we ended up seeing Linda, who's the mom, and she ended up getting engaged to, what was his name? Oh my god, that was actually pretty wild. She ended up getting engaged to this guy that went to high school with her son Nick and with Brooke. So she got engaged. He was 19 when they started dating. And I remember it was a big scandal because she had been with Hulk Hogan for all these years and then suddenly is no longer with Hulk and she starts dating this guy that went to school with her kids. And this is him. And so he was 19. They were together for 4 years, got engaged, and then they ended up breaking up. And then after they broke up, so I kind of get like why the kids like don't really talk to her now, or at least Brooke doesn't talk to her now, because like you literally left Hulk Hogan, who now has become this real big pro MAGA dude, right? And then like mom ended up dating this dude that you went to high school with. They were together for 4 years, broke up, and then he sued Linda for saying that she made him do chores. Like this was crazy. This was like in 2012, 2013. Like what a wild time to be alive. Like this was still, well, this was like when the peak of pop culture was starting to fade out. But like what? Like if you like mom leaves dad to go date 19-year-old high school student and then gets engaged to him and then they break up and then he sues her because he says that she would make him do chores and now he's trying to sue her for the manual labor that she needs to pay him for. It was just like, whoa. Like truly, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. So that's we'll get to her now. This is Hulk Hogan and his young, I think she's like 25 years younger than him too, which um Linda's her ex fiance, he was, I think they were like 25 years apart. So Hulk and her seemed to be following the same trajectory, but he ended up marrying his yoga instructor. Nick seems to be um I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with Nick. I know, had a DUI at one point, and his life has been kind of a hot mess as well. He kinda looks cute, but he also kind of reminds me of Chet Hanks. Um, like, he just looks a little weathered. He kinda looks like he's the same age as his dad. Definitely not somebody I'm sure his mom would date because he looks a little old. So, good for him. And then we have Brooke. And Brooke also got married. She married some guy that he plays for the NFL. She's kind of lived a more quiet life after her music career didn't really take off. They have 2 babies now. Mama Bear looks like she's living her best life. But so Linda decided to post this crazy wackadoodle video that I'll play for you guys on her. I think she posted it on Facebook, actually. Here it is.
So I'm just home by myself today. Again, as usual, I'm okay with most things, but today something hit. I don't know what hit, but I look terrible because I've been crying.
Okay, not to be a bitch, but doesn't she kind of look like Margaret Josephs? Once you see it, I feel like you can't unsee it. Sorry.
And yesterday I went to try to go have Botox and shit, and they bruised me. Like, I don't know. But
It's a very strange Botox bruise, though. I've gotten Botox bruises before, or actually, it was a filler bruise that I got, and it was under my eye, and it was right before my big 30th birthday that I did the birthday bash at the Bourbon Room, and I did a live podcast, and Lala Kent was in it. And I remember I just had this big black eye. So when I look back at photos from that night, and specifically photos, from my birthday, I had so much white concealer on. And it was crazy because I like had to cover up the bruise. It looks like I fallen out of a coconut tree.
It's been 15 or longer years since I got left Hulk Hogan. And my family is in the worst mess. Brooke doesn't talk to us. She's had twins. She got married. She didn't tell us. She had twins. She didn't tell us. She had a huge fight with Terry. I don't know how that reflected onto me, but she cut me out too. I haven't talked to her for 7 years, almost 8 years now. And God bless Nick. He's still such a good boy. I've never put a Facebook post out like this with my ugly face and my crying face, but I have to be honest about what I went through in my marriage with Terry as Hulk Hogan, and what it entailed and what it has caused over the years and everything else. He's a complete liar. He is a sex addict. Yet he marches on. He marches on like, yeah, oh, I'm promoting my own beer, real American beer. Yeah, look at me. Woo! Yeah, he's such a hero, right? Not. Okay, I'm going to give him my thumbs down. I've given him more opportunities to come back and make us a family and try to, I'm sorry, it's so sad.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. It's funny. And then when you think of it, because she looks like Margaret Joseph, like not like a good Margaret, like a rough Margaret Josephs, right? Like if you left Margaret Josephs out in the sun, too, like Margaret from her like first season or two on Housewives of New Jersey, and like left her out in the sun a little too long and like gave her some bruises. It just, I feel bad saying that, but it's crazy. Okay, let's continue.
And it's been 20 years and I'm still this sad.
You left him for a 19-year-old.
Somebody please explain that. I don't know. It just doesn't get better. I do love living alone. I don't ever want to be married again after him. Trust me.
Okay, well, that's what's crazy about that is she says she never wants to be married to him again, but then says that like at one point it kind of like insinuates that she tried to get back with him to like save the family. And I'm like, are you like him or not? Because also I don't think you're going to be able to compete with the yoga instructor. Like I think that's we're probably past those days. I think the yoga instructor has very much won this fight, unfortunately. Here's the she does kind of look like Linda Hogan, though. If you look at her, like she looks like a younger. Well, it's also weird. Remember how people were always saying that it was really strange, like how Hulk Hogan was like very touchy with Brooke, and now, well, Brooke. So Linda Hogan went and she posted this strange video, and then Brooke went, and Brooke ended up posting this response to it. And so Brooke is basically saying, let's read this. She posted on her Instagram stories, or on her Instagram account, her feed, actually. She said, I try very hard to ignore issues surrounding my family in hopes that I might have some peace in my life. Sadly, I've intentionally made myself smaller in my professional career in music and TV simply to dodge the public negativity surrounding my family that has continuously and relentlessly overshadowed anything I do. If it were just me, I would continue to take the hits and shrink even smaller to avoid the dangers of speaking publicly. But I have my own family now, and it's affecting more than just me at this point. Because she has her husband who plays in the NFL, or sorry, NHL. Not the NFL, the NHL, hockey. Yeah. There was a recent video posted by my mother that was concerning enough for people to send to me that has made me feel the need to address the tip of a very large iceberg. Ooh, we're just getting just the tip. That very large iceberg that is my immediate family. Well, give me the tea, girl. What little I am addressing does not even scratch the surface of what I've dealt with my entire life. I will start by saying this video is mild compared to the behavior I've witnessed for the greater portion of my life. This also continues in addition to false claims that have been previously posted, then deleted. That being said, she has been through a lot of trauma and pain. My heart breaks for her. You can't control how others treat you, but you can control how you treat others and cope with things. So that's her talking about her mother. Too many times I've ignored these things said about I've ignored things said about me and haven't spoken my truths. Even so, I will keep things as vague as possible to continue to protect people that should have protected me. Protect you from what? Most importantly, I have completely separate reasons for going no contact with each of my parents. No contact with my mom has nothing to do with my dad, and no contact with my father has nothing to do with my mother. This also pertains to my dad's second and third, now current wife. This decision was made based purely on how they have dealt with me directly my entire life. What I'm what I'm about to say is not pointed at either person and in no particular order when it comes to who did what. It's my own personal truth and you can do your own math. I have been extremely verbally and mentally abused since childhood. Sadly, it would frequently turn physical. And sometimes it's not by the person you would assume. Abuse comes in all shapes and sizes. I kind of feel like it was the mom who would do this then. Because I think you would immediately assume it would be the dad, which would be crazy. Okay. This vicious pattern has robbed me of any sense of self esteem or confidence that I've been trained to pretend to have. It took me, wow, this is actually, I didn't read all of this beforehand. It took many years to figure out the things that were seriously done for me really benefited someone else in a greater capacity. I'm assuming her parents with the music, with the reality show. Up until adulthood, I've received berating and vile text messages, verbal public reamings with unbelievably hurtful words said to me that cannot be forgotten. I've been asked to defend poor behavior to their public and have done so out of love, only to find I was misinformed, manipulated, and lied to. Still to this day, I face constant ridicule for those poor decisions of others. I've watched others benefit financially off my suffering and embarrassment caused by their selfish behavior. When it caused my life to crumble, I continued to stay strong and resilient. I was expected to and did not forgive massive blows to my career and personal life, nasty behavior, omissions of truth, blatant lies, manipulation, and repetitive errors in hopes of renewing previous family bonds. I've been used as a pawn, a buffer, and been treated like I'm downright stupid too. No child or human should ever experience something like this. Feeling injustice, not speaking my truth, dealing with smear campaigns. What in the Blake Lively is going on? Flying monkeys, enablers of this behavior, watching fake win over what's real, and losing other family members and friends in an attempt to stop gossip and ongoing drama is also a painful side effect of the decision I deal with daily. Many people witnessed this behavior and never took action or took a stand for me, but I did watch them stick around for the freebies, the money, and the association to fame, all of which I chose to give up and was never important to me in the first place. I guess some don't speak up to avoid getting caught in the crosshairs too. I don't blame them. My family is very skilled at war. I so badly wanted to see good in them, protect, help, and start anew, just to be disrespected again and again. I longed for a normal family, but never came to fruition. I've repeatedly held my hand out to help them, only to have them pull me into the darkness with them. I set boundaries that were respected, and at this point, I can truly do no more. So here I am, an adult with the loving husband and two beautiful children of my own. And what I can do is take control. I have been to therapy. I am doing the work. I am breaking the chain. It ends with me. Ooh, wow. Because that's where I see this comment here that I'm gonna like. It ends with me. Yes. Each individual on their own has given me more than enough reasons over the years to make this extremely hard and painful decision to end contact. As much as I not only understand and have empathy for their own struggles, I absolutely love them with every fiber of my being. Oh, this is heartbreaking, which deep down I think they know. My heart hurts every day, and not a day passes that it does not affect me. Inside of me, there is a little girl who desperately wants and needs her mom and dad. No one wants this, to feel such pain and not have parents, but their behavior became more painful than their absence. I hope one day they realize, appreciate, and respect why I've chosen to remain as quiet as possible, not exposing specific names and details of certain experiences. I still try to protect them. It it is not something easy to handle feeling like you're on an island. Many don't know that years ago, I waited tables to build my own business with zero financial help from others, but I have worked hard my whole life. Cycles must be broken. I feel God has given me the strength and duty to do so. At this point, my husband, my children, and our relationship with God is my priority. There have been more than enough chances and reprieve given. It has to stop. It ends now. I will not let the false narrative continue past this point. Please heed my warning. I am choosing peace. But do not mistake my kindness or silence for weakness. There are families without food, parents with sick children, real hardships going on in the world, and our family was more than blessed, and everyone chose to play their cards differently. Accountability is a game changer. Life is so precious. I want so much to be able to enjoy what's important. My children and my life, I've worked so hard to create and protect, and I hope everyone can give me the chance to do that without injecting any more poison in it. And we had a number of um, comments and support from people online. It really is heartbreaking. Yeah. Like, this really is sad when you see it all laid out like this, and I believe that I mean, listen, their family was far from perfect from what we saw on the show, so then Linda and the 19-year-old boyfriend, like, that was crazy, 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 wackadoodle crazy, and so I understand her pain, I understand her needing to take distance, I understand her needing to walk away from this very toxic family dynamic. And it does seem like she's open to it, though, as long as there's no more lies and manipulation and flipping of narratives. But I just think, listen, people like Linda and Terry, AKA Hulk Hogan, I think at that age, you're not really going to change. You are who you are. You're as fucked up as you're ever going to be. And that's really just where it stands, you know? So I feel like at this point, um, oh, Megan says, "I'm behind on the video. My mother is married to a guy who went to high school with me. I feel this in my soul." That's crazy, right? For your like, I don't know how I would feel if my mother chose to, like, marry somebody that I went to high school with. Like, that would be kinda crazy. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past my mother, but I really feel like she wouldn't do that. Like, I couldn't even imagine. Yeah, Shelby says she's protecting her babies. She is protecting her babies, and I think that's the important thing to do, you know? It's just crazy and unfortunate, but she chose herself and her family's peace. I'm happy for her, but she sounds like she went through a lot. It sounds like she did go through a lot, and it seems like a lot of her relationships with her family, with friends, like, they've been fractured as a result of that. I'm sure a number of people would want her to make amends and heal and, trying to work on that family dynamic, but it takes two to tango, right? You can only work on that dynamic if those other people are also willing and reciprocating of it. Um, so yeah, of course, we don't know everything that went on in the family. Yeah, we don't know everything, but from what we do know, there was a lot that played out in the media during that era. Ugh. Oy, oy, oy. Just oof, oof, oof. Okay. That's Brooke. That's the Hogans. Hulk Hogan. Hogan, I guess, doesn't know best. And Brooke does know best. That was the spinoff. Brooke knows best. And I think in the end, Brooke knows best. But also, since she does bring in, um, since she does bring in, I guess, domestic violence that happened, I do want to remind everybody. I want to take that to remind everyone we are currently raising money for DV and SV from the No More Foundation. All of my merch right now, we have Zack Pack hoodies, we have Zactivated tanks, Zack Pack t-shirts, Daddy Sleuth shirts, Mommy Sleuth shirts, and Justice for Justin. So apparently Justice for Justin is our highest, hottest shirt right now. It's the biggest seller. And like I said, from now until April 11th, so all sales made between now and April 11th, I'm going to be donating 50% of my proceeds from merch sales to the No More Foundation, which was the foundation that Justin partnered with for It Ends With Us. And it's designed to work to end DV and SV. And so I just felt like this was a natural tie-in. So if you guys want to purchase the Justice for Justin shirts or any of the Daddy Sleuth, Mommy Sleuth, or any of the classic Zack Pack merch, you can do that now. NoFilterMerch.com. Here, I'll put the link in the live chat so that you can see it, and you can place any orders. Oh, look it. Laura says, I'm wearing my Zack Pack shirt today. Yay. Guys, please, waiting until Tuesday to buy the Mommy Sleuth. Yes, I got our first initial numbers and what we've raised so far. I don't want to give the number because I have the goal of what I hope that we can hit and donate. And we're very, very close to that goal, and it hasn't even been a week yet. So thank you guys for continuing to support, and thank you for helping us raise money for the No More Foundation. So it's crazy. I think we're going to be able to give a nice check. So please continue to support, share, purchase. You can order at nofiltermerch.com. I put the link in the live chat so you guys can click on it directly. The link is also in the description below. Let's talk about Erika Jayne, Candace Owens, House Inhabit. And actually, you know what? I want to also talk about Garcelle one more time because I saw this editor at, was it at Variety Glamour? Who was it? I don't know who this lady was, and she was up in my mentions. Variety, editor at large of Variety. What's her name? Kate Arthur was like clapping back at me on threads about Garcelle, and I was like, lady, chill. So we'll get back into that. Okay, we'll get back into that. Is there a way to donate monetarily to the foundation, Zack? I believe if you go to nomore.org, you can make a direct donation to them. You're so close to 90,000. Yes, guys, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We're almost at 90K. Let's get to 90K. 90K. Let's see if we can hit 90K by Monday this weekend. So, and then eventually 100K. Okay. Last thing I want to give a shout out to and some love to is my pals at Nutrafol. You guys know I love me some Nutrafol, Nutrafol, Nutrafol. 100K. Listen, no hair care routine is made equally, and that's why you need a hair care routine that's going to be tailored to you, and that's why I'm very happy to be partnering with Nutrafol. You can go to Nutrafol.com and use code NOFILTER, and you'll get $10 off your first subscription. You can head on over to Nutrafol.com right now, use code NOFILTER, and listen, I've been talking about my hair journey. I was blonde for 6 years. So there was a lot of damage and bleach that was done to my hair, and I needed to at least bring back my scalp, right? And now I feel like I have. Aging, lifestyle choices, menopause, plant-based lifestyles, all of that can affect what goes on inside your body, which then affects what we see on the outside. So if you're seeing your hair thinning, if you're seeing yourself balding, if you're starting to see, your hair shedding, then Nutrafol is, I think, a really good option. It's physician formulated, and they have clinical studies that were done, not just about the ingredients used in the Nutrafol supplements, but they had specific studies that were done that test the actual final formulas. So I definitely recommend you give Nutrafol a try. You can go to Nutrafol.com, use code NOFILTER for healthier hair. It starts from within, and that's what they do. They nourish you from within. They suggest you take it for at least 3 to 6 months before you start to see results. Because remember, like, your strands are here and your hair grows slowly. So it takes time to really see those results come in. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the investment. I like taking my Nutrafol supplements. I think their packaging is great. So go to Nutrafol.com and use code NOFILTER. Okay. Whew. Threads is whack. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk Beverly Hills. Real Houses of Beverly Hills will end on Candace Owens and House Inhabit. But so on Threads, let's go on to Threads. Okay. On Threads, there was what's her name? Kate Arthur. So I posted obviously about Garcelle, and I said apparently Bravo wasn't planning on renewing Garcelle's contract anyway, and let her know after the reunion. And then Kate Arthur, who I guess is the editor at large of Variety, then responded, and she just said, "This isn't true, period." So then I clarified further, and I said, I've had 2 separate sources now, one close to Garcelle and one close to production, but both of whom have said that Garcelle's contract was likely not going to be renewed. Production was relieved that she quit. So I want to clarify all of this, okay? So I was told by two separate. And listen, let's be very clear. My sources on Real Houses of Beverly Hills are very strong. My sources on Vanderpump Rules, very strong. Those are the two that I've always had very strong sources on, right? I know cast members, I know producers, I know people on the production team. I mean, come on, I was banging Sutton Strack's assistant, not Avi. So like, I know things that go on in Beverly Hills. Okay, I also live in LA, so yeah, I know a lot of these people. So that said, what I was told, one person told me that I guess producers did become frustrated with Garcelle because they didn't feel like she was a good cast member to help with conflict and resolution, which is what these reality shows are based around, conflict and resolution. So producers would get frustrated because anytime Garcelle was backed into a corner or anytime anybody tried to hold Garcelle accountable for her own bad behavior, she would immediately turn it into a conversation about race and she would weaponize that against the other women. And that obviously you can't have healthy conflict and resolution when that's the card that you're constantly playing. When you're constantly trying to insinuate that the other women are racist, then yeah, it doesn't really help. And so I was told that they tried to work more diversity into the show, hoping that, Garcelle wouldn't be able to do that with other cast members that, had more diversity that they were bringing to the cast. It was very challenging. And we saw Garcelle repeatedly play that card. She would always bring it up. And then the reason she couldn't really do that anymore is because now Bose has come into the conversation, and Bose very much held Garcelle accountable for the comments that she made about PK and Dorit's robbery. Okay. So, yes, I had somebody that did share to me the frustrations that production had with Garcelle. Because again, these shows are built on conflict and resolution. And if these women can't say anything, remember when last season, the big thing was about how, Dorit was like, Garcelle, she said that Garcelle, you're attacking me, right? Which is a commonly used term in Housewives also. You're attacking me. Sutton Strack said the same thing about Anna Marie, but because Dorit happened, and Anna Marie, who also happens to be a Black woman, but Dorit said it to Garcelle, and Garcelle's like, you've been held at gunpoint. You know what an attack is. How dare you say that I attacked you? Do you know what that means to say I attacked you? I didn't attack you. Like, she just constantly went to that place. And it's like, well, then, yeah, then you have to be walking on eggshells because depending on what words you use, it's going to be turned into, what Garcelle wants to consider a microaggression. And so I feel like this was a pattern that we can continue to see play out. And now that Bose has entered the conversation, and Crystal never held, these women to the same standard, and Garcelle never held like women like Kathy Hilton or Sutton Strack to those same standards, right? They would protect their I don't see color Sutton, and then when any of the other women like Dorit would use the word attack, suddenly they would turn it into that. So just it was frustrating because then also when you're doing not just conflict and conflict resolution, you're also developing the storyline and trying to see where the story is going to go. And if it constantly comes back to, well, Dorit's racist, Dorit's racist, Dorit's racist, Erika's racist, Erika's racist, Kyle's racist, Kyle's racist, Kyle's racist, because Kyle called out Garcelle for not donating the money that she pledged to Kyle's charity, then it just kind of continues to go in circles and it doesn't really go anywhere. And not only that, but like, it's dangerous to constantly go on television and accuse people of that. And it's so interesting to now see the audience do this, and they're turning on Bose. And I see that the argument is that like Bose is selling out her own people so that she can be friends with the white ladies on the show. And I'm just like, are we still doing this? Like, watch, like Bose is a strong, accomplished woman. And I use the word strong because of that's the direct reference to what she says at the reunion when Sutton's like, you came in strong. Could you imagine if Dorit told Garcelle, you came in strong? Oh my God, that would be a microaggression. And so she tells Bose, you came in strong. And Bose very confidently clapped back at her and she said, I am strong. I am strong. So, yes, she is a strong and very accomplished and clearly very wealthy woman on this cast. And I think she was a great addition. I've stood by that, but because she happens to be friends with Dorit. But it's also crazy seeing the double standards where if you say anything remotely negative about Garcelle, it must be rooted in racism, right? It must be rooted in inherent bias. Right. Those are the words that keep getting thrown at somebody like me who's been critical of Garcelle. But yet, if they're critical, the same audience, right? The same Beverly Hills Garcelle stance, if they're critical of Bose, it has nothing to do with racism. It has nothing to do with inherent bias. It has nothing to do with any of those terms that they try to weaponize against us. But yet with Bose, they just say they don't like her because they think she's fake. But it's like, so why is it if I'm critical of Garcelle, I'm immediately racist, but you're critical of Bose and suddenly it's not about race? Like what? That doesn't make sense. Like, you think I just fell out of a coconut tree? No, sorry, can't play. The standards need to be the same, and it needs to be, what is it? Equity needs to be, even playing ground for everybody. We're fighting for equity, right? That was Kamala Harris's big talking point. So I'm just like, what? Like, we have to have the same standards here, because you can't just pick and choose when you want to weaponize those terms, because we saw how that card got overplayed, and ultimately the culture has shifted now, right? Culturally, people related more to Donald Trump than they did to Kamala Harris. And I think it's because, again, the whole, doubling down on the woke agenda has absolutely just, it needs to take a pivot, and we need to kind of course correct here a bit, right? Because you're losing the audience. So no, sorry, we're not playing those double standards anymore, and we're not going to continue to do that. So yes, I had one source that told me production was frustrated with that when it came to Garcelle, and then I had a separate source that told me, completely separate, two different. One was text communication. The other one was a phone call that I received yesterday morning, which is when I put out that tweet about Bravo didn't really want to renew Garcelle's contract. They weren't planning on renewing Garcelle's contract. I believe her contract had been up, and it was, about, there was either going to be a renegotiation or, whatever for the next season. Usually that happens after the reunion, but apparently they didn't really want to renew her contract. Yes, that she had some popularity with the viewers, but at the same time, like, it didn't make sense for her to continue because she has no real allies on the show. Sutton Strack has proven to not be a real friend. I called their friendship fake from the beginning. I always knew that it was strategic. Sutton, I don't see color, was only friends with Garcelle because it made her look good. And then the second Garcelle needed her, Sutton wasn't there to show up for her. Sutton is who I've been calling Sutton out to be for, the past couple of seasons. And Garcelle is who I call Garcelle out to be for the past couple of seasons as well. So there we go. There we go. We're starting to see that I was right all these seasons when I was being called racist for calling out Garcelle and her shady tactics, and Sutton, even though Sutton's whiter than Snow White. So, yeah, I was told by the second source that Garcelle apparently was I don't know when she got wind of the fact that producers didn't really want to renew her contract for the next season, but rather than take the gamble, she was just like, she's going to play her card and try to quit. And maybe she was going to use that as a bargaining chip to come back. I don't really know. I don't know what took place exactly in those conversations, but producers were frustrated with her. They didn't really want to renew her contract for the next season. They weren't planning on it. And I guess afterwards, there was a conversation about that prior to her conversation with Andy Cohen, where Andy Cohen went on his radio show and was like, "Oh, well, I talked to Garcelle," and blah, blah. And we know Andy Cohen plays these games, right? He plays with the semantics. He plays with the timing. I didn't know that Garcelle had quit for 2 weeks when Erika's like, "Come on," she walked off the reunion and like it was obvious she wasn't coming back, and now she's quit. And Andy's like, "Well, I didn't know that." And then he went on his radio show and he's like, "Well, actually, what really happened was I had a conversation with her and blah, 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 blah." I'm told that Garcelle had already known the producers weren't planning on bringing her back next season prior to that conversation that she had with Andy, the conversation she had with Andy, which makes sense, right? If you're going to try and negotiate and you want to win the audience over, your last card that you're going to play is to go to Andy Cohen. And if you're telling him, "Oh, I want to quit," and he's not begging you to stay, I mean, come on, Jacqueline Larita, who's a good friend of mine, she's been on the show and she talked about her experience on Real Houses of New Jersey, where she was locked into her contract and she didn't want to continue to film Real Houses of New Jersey, but she was locked into her contract. And Dina Manzo had already left the season prior, so they weren't going to let Jacqueline leave and they made her continue to film the show because she was under contract. So they can flex when they want to hold you to your contract. Garcelle had no more allies left on the show. Bose was now challenging her. She buckled under the pressure. I think that writing's pretty clear. But so my response to Kate Arthur is that, yeah, I had two separate sources that told me that. And I also have a third source that told me other things that, and no, those aren't sources on the cast. One of them is actually a source close to Garcelle. So she may be careful with the people that are around her because they were leaking some things about that. I'm just going to put that out there. So, yeah. Oh, yay. Lizzie said I got my Justice for Justin shirt. And Zack Cody, yay, Lizzie, take pictures and post them, guys, on social media and tag me in them so I can share them and post them. I want to do a nice montage of everybody wearing their merch, their Justice for Justin or Mommy Sleuth or Zack Pack. You just don't like Garcelle. I liked her in her first season, and then yeah, I liked her in her first season. Not so much anymore, but it also doesn't make sense that she would leave the show. I'm told that usually between season 5 and season 6 is where you get your little bump in salary, right? You get your jump, especially if your contract is up for renegotiation. She has 2 boys that she's about to put through college. That's very expensive. She also has a beach house that she just built. I'm pretty sure that probably, like, usually when you build that, there's a mortgage or there are loans that you take out to build. It's like, that's going to have to be paid back. Her Lifetime movies, I'm sure, aren't paying her nearly as much as her Lifetime movies probably aren't paying her nearly as much as Bravo was. That's a 6-figure paycheck. That's at least $500K plus. I'm sure she's making over $500K and would have continued to have made more than that, right? She's also a name, right? She's a known name, so I'm sure she had a pretty high contract when she came into the show to begin with. I know. You don't quit a job where you have 6 figures and it's kind of secured when, I mean, let's be honest, she's not the richest on that show. I don't think that's a shock to anybody. Dorit, financial issues. Erika dealing with her lawsuits. Garcelle, not that wealthy. Sutton Strack, wealthy. Kyle Richards, wealthy. Jennifer Tilly, wealthy. She has Simpsons money. Kyle has agency money. Kathy Hilton has Hilton money. Sutton has money from her husband. We found out that he pays her $300,000 in alimony or spousal support each month. So, yeah. Erika Jayne going through lawsuits. Let's talk about that. So Erika Jayne is currently, I guess, getting ready to go to trial. Covered the Girardi scandal extensively. So let's recap it, right? Tom Girardi in 2020, Erika Jayne filed for divorce from Tom Girardi. Suddenly, this attorney, Jay Edelson, came out and he's like, hold up, wait a minute. I think that this is a sham divorce. Okay. He said that it was a sham divorce and they were likely using it to hide assets. Why? That's when the House of Cards came tumbling down. So he had these clients that had lost people in a Lion Air plane crash a couple years prior. And so Jay Edelson and Edelson PC were working with Girardi Keese representing these clients known on the show and known in the media as the orphans and widows. Okay. That's not my term for them. That's just how people commonly know them. They were these orphans and widows. And so Jay Edelson was claiming that those clients had not gotten their money from Girardi Keese. Girardi Keese was supposed to pay them. Girardi Keese was not paying them. I believe it was about $2 million that they were owed. So then this opened up this whole big can of worms. There was another family, the Ruigomez family. There's Joe Ruigomez, who people know of as one of Girardi's former clients that was a burn victim. So we're now starting to see that Tom Girardi is not only just not paying his clients, but these are clients that desperately need this money, right? Victims of an explosion, victims of, people that are now orphans and widows as a result of losing their family members on this plane crash. Heartbreaking, right? Gut-wrenching, terrible, to not be paying these people their money. So we found out that Tom Girardi wasn't on time with his payments for his clients. Big legal scandal. Erika Jayne was dragged into it because that was her husband. I've always said, listen, classic tale in Beverly Hills. Husband is a sleaze, and he's not really coming home and telling his third younger wife what he's doing at the office, right? I've always said you don't have to like her. A lot of people don't find her very likable, and that's fine. You can call her cold, you can call her icy, the ice queen, whatever you want to call her. People have called her a number of different names at this point. You don't have to like her, but I've always defended the culpability, right? And I don't believe that she had any dealings with Girardi Keese. She didn't work for the law firm. She didn't manage the books. And so as the case continued to unfold over the next several years, because this broke in 2020, we're now in 2025. So it's been almost 5 years of this. It's been 4 going on 4.5 years. Now, what happened? Legal system played out. This, ambulance chaser, Ronald Richards, ended up forcing himself onto the case and ended up getting himself appointed by the Girardi trustee, because eventually the case, was investigated. There was a trustee that was appointed. The trustee decides to hire ambulance chaser Ronald Richards to investigate Erika specifically, which ultimately didn't need to do much of an investigation. He didn't really find anything at the end of the day. He parted ways, like most housewives part ways on their own terms. He parted ways from the trustee, moved along with his life. And so what was discovered and what we now know, and this is, again, old news from 2021, because there was this bit of misinformation, everyone's favorite term, where it was said on the show and it was said in the press that Erika Jayne got $25 million from Girardi Keese. And I said, hold on, we have to put that information into context, okay? Because Erika's openly said she did not receive this money. And so when we dig into that story, she often said she lived her life off of an Amex. She never saw the bills. She never got the bills. She never paid for anything. Tom gave her an Amex, and that's what she lived her life on. Tale as old as time in Beverly Hills, right? Rich older man, younger wife. She was wife number 3, mind you. They live their life off of an Amex, right? Kind of happens all the time. People just live their life off of a credit card. And so she had a credit card, didn't seem to have a limit. She's going to Neiman Marcus. She's getting her hair done, her nails done, whatever. She's charging it to the Amex. Now, those bills were going to Tom Girardi's office, and Tom Girardi's office was run by a man named Christopher Camone. He was the CFO. He was the one that was running the books at Girardi Keese. And so now that everything is played out in court, Christopher Camone has pled guilty. Tom Girardi was found guilty by a jury, and because the trial happened last year, which we saw kind of play out on this final episode, the finale for Real Houses of Beverly Hills. We saw that all come to fruition, come to full circle. And so it was found that Tom Girardi and this guy, Christopher Camone, were working together and they were mixing up all the money. So personal expenses, business expenses, we found out that the CFO had multiple homes that he owned here in the US. He was trying to flee to the Bahamas when they got him and arrested him. He ultimately ended up pleading guilty, saying that him and Tom Girardi did this together. Tom tried to say, I didn't do it. He did all of it. And he also ended up I think he even got an extra 10 million, if I remember correctly. Aside from all his properties, he also had what Tom's team called a side fraud that, gave him an opportunity to skimp more money for himself to put in his pocket. So these were two shady dudes doing this, right? And so there were a number of bills that were being paid and all of the money was getting mixed. And so what's really bad about this is these were client settlements that they were using to pay off all of these bills, okay? So where does Erika Jayne fit into this? The Amex. She lived her life on the Amex. The Amex bills were going to Girardi Keese. Over the course of 12 years, okay, there wasn't one large lump sum of $25 million, but over the course of 12 years, she had accumulated expenses leading to $25 million. Okay. Now, she didn't know, as she's stated a number of times, she didn't know what was going on at Girardi Keese. Okay. But so what was happening was, and we don't know if this is Tom Girardi or we don't know if this was Christopher Camone that was doing this specifically, but when the taxes were being filed, Girardi Keese was writing this money off as loans to Erika Jayne's LLC, EJ Global. So EJ Global was running these charges on the Amex that Erika had, and then Girardi Keese was paying for that money, and then on the taxes for a loophole, a tax loophole, they were saying that these were loans from Girardi Keese to EJ Global LLC. And so they were just writing them off as loans and then ultimately writing them off as losses, right? We loaned this money to EJ Global. The money never got, we never were able to retrieve it because it was ultimately a loss, is kind of the argument that they were trying to make in the taxes. So now the trustee is trying to move forward and fight for that 25 million back. Now, does Erika have it? No. The money has been spent, and the money was spent over the course of 12 years. And over the course of 12 years prior to Erika filing for divorce in 2020. So I would think there would be an issue with statute of limitations, right? They also have to, it's going to be weird because I don't know how this is going to play out, but they have to look into whether or not this really was a loan. Were there loan documents? Was there, terms and conditions of these loans, right? They obviously don't appear to be real loans that were being given, but there were a number of companies in addition to Erika's company, because Tom had a number of different, LLCs and whatnot that in my opinion, seemingly were shell companies to keep moving the money all around. And a lot of that was kind of proven in court. So we'll see how this plays out. I would imagine there's an issue of statute of limitations. I mean, Erika never personally saw any of that money. EJ Global never received any of that money. It was money that, I mean, it wasn't even real money. It was an Amex expenses. It was a line of credit that was being paid for by Girardi Keese. So the trustee, Elisa Miller, appears to be trying to fight back and get that money, that $25 million from EJ Global. Now, also worth noting, the orphans and widows and the burn victim, Joe Rui Gomez, have all been paid their settlements. And those were the only two clients that, at least that were the most notable. But as far as I'm aware, those are the only two that had, secured judgments that were brought forth in court, proven that they were owed money and didn't get that money paid, and then were able to fight that. And they were able to get that money back. But so, yeah, now we're going to see what happens with this trial. The trustees been very clear that they planned on coming, bringing this forth against Erika to get her to pay. We'll see what the judge says, if she has to pay or not. Who knows? WS says, I really don't think she should be held responsible. She was a victim of their fraud as much as anyone, maybe more, because she trusted her husband. It's such a mess. That's my thing. It's like, there's been no evidence or proof that she was complicit in any of this stuff. There have been a lot of, rumors like that Erika White rumor when they were like, oh, she like posed as this woman named Erika White and she went into a bank and like tried to steal money from Wells Fargo. Like it was just all kind of crazy, the theories that people were coming up with. PB says, I feel bad for Erika sometimes. She probably put this man on a pedestal because he was a lawyer in country. She loved him, but I never thought that this would be the end. You can see that on Watch What Happens Live. Yeah, I mean, we've known that this has been ongoing, but the only reason it's being talked about again is because it made news now that there's going to be a trial date that's going to be set for this. It's going to be interesting to watch this play out. Again, I've always said I don't think she should be held accountable for Tom Girardi's crimes. I think the men that were complicit in all of this are now seeing their day. Tom Girardi sentenced, convicted, as was the person I feel like nobody really talks about is Christopher Camone, like the CFO. He was the one that was responsible for the books. Tom Girardi and him were clearly in cahoots. This was proven in court now, right? Camone confessed. Girardi was found guilty. He tried to fight it and he was found guilty at the end. So the fact that people still want to hold Erika to the fire for shit that her husband was doing, I mean, I don't know. That's a really big question. It's like, she doesn't have 25 million to pay back. And should she have to pay that? Should she be responsible for it? Tom Girardi has restitution. Christopher Camone has restitution. So I believe that it was about 100 million that was owed in debts, unpaid debts. That included the orphans and widows, that included the Rui Gomez family, because these were large settlements, right? And this was an accumulation of not just client money, but just bills that hadn't been paid, right? Contractors that needed to get paid their expenses and whatnot. And so the trustee is trying to collect as much money as possible. But my thing is, one, we know that a lot of money has already come back into Girardi Keese, and there were cases that I believe have now been settled, and there were items that were auctioned off, all of that stuff. So my thing is, it's like, well, what happens to that money once that debt is paid? Because if they end up collecting and winning all of this money back, all of that money, I believe, accounts for more than what is owed. So, and then also you have to like find out, well, what money was part of the percentage fee, right? Because Girardi Keese was technically entitled to 40% of that settlement money, and they were entitled to attorney's fees. And so Tom's not getting that money, and Girardi Keese is now defunct. It's not operating anymore. So my question is, if Elisa Miller does end up getting all of this money back, where does that money go? Because it's not going to any of the victims. And let's be clear, the victims that were at the front of the line have already received their money. So these are just going to pay back old debts that Tom didn't pay, like these loans that he was taking out from banks. So when people think that there's justice that's being done here, we also found out that Tom Girardi, his friends were giving him loans. So that's how he was paying for certain things. They would loan him money. So a lot of those wealthy, powerful friends here in Los Angeles that were allowing Tom Girardi to engage in this behavior they're now getting their cutouts. They're now getting their money because they're saying we loaned him money and we're owed our money. So that's part of that 100 mil. People think that's 100 million that he stole from clients. It's actually not true. The portion which that has been proven and linked back to money that was owed to these clients, it's a small fraction compared to that full 100 mil. That 100 mil is going to a lot more people that really, I mean, I guess technically, yes, they do deserve it. But like, if they really were complicit in some of this stuff and they were giving him loans when they knew that they shouldn't have been loaning him money, they were letting him get away with a lot of this shit. I don't know. I don't know. But that's where we're at with the Girardi stuff. But Teresa went to prison for less, right? Teresa Giudice's situation is different. That was, I believe it was tax fraud, and it was her and her husband were lying and defrauding and getting, I mean, I guess kind of like what Tom was doing, right? He was getting these loans fraudulently. So yeah, Teresa went to prison for why did Teresa, well, let's remember, Teresa Giudice go to jail? Yeah, mail, wire, and bankruptcy fraud. Her and Joe, and he was ultimately deported. Yeah, conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. Yeah, because they were defrauding creditors. Yep. And then obviously her and Louis are having all sorts of drama. Now, the worst thing, they're having financial issues. There's a rumor that Jennifer Aiden may have, what do you call it? May have loaned them money. It's crazy. Crazy. Okay. Lori says you can't F with your taxes or Rico will get you. Rico. So there we go. That's the Erika of it all. We'll see what happens and when the trial date is set and ultimately what is determined by a jury. It's going to be interesting. Okay. Candace Owens versus House Inhabit. This is also so wild. So Candace Owens, Jessica Reed Krause, two, I guess, more conservative leaning women. I don't think they fully consider themselves Republicans by any means, but they are two more right leaning women. Okay. And Candace Owens, I believe she, used to be a reporter for the Daily Wire. And now she ended up getting fired. And so now she has her own show called The Candace Show. She's been talking a lot about Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Justin Baldoni. Jessica Reed Krause she calls herself an independent journalist, very much won over the White House. So she was actually part of the group of influencers that was given the Epstein files. Remember the binders, the whole debacle with the Epstein files. Jessica Krause was one of those influencers. Influencers is what they call her. She considers herself an independent journalist. I actually have enjoyed both of their content. I'll be honest, right? And so I will occasionally see what Candace is up on. I know she's up on her Harvey Weinstein series that she's doing right now. There's the Brigitte Macron thing, which I don't know, that the Brigitte Macron and is Macron's wife a man is kind of crazy. It's wackadoodle. I don't know. Is she a man? Is she not a man? Like, it sounds so crazy, but also she seems so convinced, and she like did her whole PowerPoint and like, I don't know. And then Jessica Reed Krause, big supporter of RFK. I've been a big openly supporter of RFK. I've been big on the Maha situation, right? So they're now beefing, Candace and Jessica Reed Krause, House Inhabit. They're beefing, and they're beefing because I guess Jessica Reed Krause, so she has a Substack and she has a newsletter. I subscribe to her newsletter. I like to read her newsletter. I thought she did some great coverage of the JFK files. Obviously, the Epstein files was a total big flop and a bomb. White House definitely embarrassed Jessica and a number of other creators. But so she did a piece in her newsletter that was critical of Candace Owens, was also critical of Megyn Kelly. I believe she also critiqued Tucker Carlson, but specific to Candace Owens, I guess Jessica Reed Krause insinuated that Candace like had stolen content from her, which I know a lot of people have felt that way about Candace. I know a lot of us that were covering the Blake and Baldoni stuff. When Candace jumped in on that, everyone was like, oh my God, Candace came in and she put this whole timeline together. And oh my God, her content's so amazing. OMG. And then some of us were like kind of annoyed that she was coming in and hijacking the conversation, considering just like we'd been covering it for like 2 months at that point, that the foundation had already been laid for Candace to come in and then just be like, oh, all the pieces are on the table. Let me just put them together and present them. And so I know we had frustrations with Candace over that. Jessica Reed Krause apparently also had similar frustrations. And she also made a point of saying that, what was the term that she used? Floundering. She said that Candace was floundering because she's now pivoting more into pop culture, right? And that's kind of been a critique that they've said, that more right-leaning women like Candace Owens and like Megyn Kelly, they tend to be leaning into more of these pop culture stories, and they're doing it because they're not getting the same clicks that they would normally get if they were covering politics. Now, I would argue that they lean into more pop culture stories that involve celebrities when it's something that's related to the bigger conversation about the culture here in America, such as Roseanne Barr when she was fired from Roseanne, and Sharon Osbourne when she was fired from The Talk. Those were very much cases that people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens had opinions of, for sure. Ultimately, those cancellations and those firings, I think, led Roseanne Barr and Sharon Osbourne, people like them, to end up going over to the right and becoming more conservative, right? I don't believe any of these people fully identify as Republican, though, but they tend to be more right-leaning. Now, that said, Candace, I guess, was upset. She caught wind that House Inhabit published this newsletter, and she was upset about that. And so she took shots at House Inhabit, and she went on. And listen, the thing with Candace is, like, once you say one thing negative about her, she goes in and she goes in hard and she goes guns ablazing, right? And I don't always agree with everything that Candace Owens says or stands for, but I do have a lot of respect for, one, the platform that she's built and the audience that is very loyal to her. And two, she's a very bold, brazen woman, right? She is very bold. She's very brave. She's very brazen. She comes guns ablazing. You know that if you're going up against Candace Owens, there's a good chance that you may not come out alive. And right now we're seeing Jessica Reed Krause really just kind of taking some beatings, right? So Candace took some shots at Jessica, and she's just like, listen, these people that used to work for you have come to me, and they're now telling me that there was apparently this hit piece that was supposed to be run about me in your newsletter. And then Jessica's coming back and she's like, oh, hold on, I'm doing a tour at the White House. And I'm kind of like, I don't have time for you because you were blocked by the White House. And Candace is like, I was blocked by the White House. I didn't even know that the White House blocked me. When did I get blocked from the White House? You know something I don't know? And Jessica's like, I know something you don't know, because I talked to people and they said that you're blocked by the White House because they think that you're anti-Semitic and because you're friends with Kanye West. And look at that, the company you keep. And then apparently, I guess the hit piece that was around Candace Owens is somehow in relation to Candace's, or I guess the claim was that Candace's husband is friends or friendly with the Tate brothers, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate. Obviously, also very controversial, very polarizing. We saw James Kennedy posting with them the other day. And he was like, oh, I didn't even know who they were. I just thought they were fans of Vanderpump Rules. Oh, okay. But so Candace responds, takes shots, does her little pew, pew, pew at Jessica Reed Krause. Jessica's kind of trying to clap back at her. But it seems like Jessica didn't like Candace. And it seems like there's some sort of resentment she has towards Candace. And like I said, I happen to like both of these women, don't agree with Candace on everything. But listen, nothing but respect to both of them and the platforms that they've each built. I follow both of them. I consume their content from time to time. So I don't have any skin in this game, and I'm not really rooting for one over the other. It kind of just seems like I don't even understand what this fight is about. Candace is just kind of upset that Jessica talked about her in the newsletter and kind of like took a jab at her. And she did take a jab at her. And it seems like Jessica doesn't really like Candace. She said that she was floundering, and I get it. That's a jab to take. I disagree with the sentiment that, right-wing creators are leaning into Blake and Baldoni because it's getting them clicks and whatnot. Because again, they all talked about Roseanne Barr getting fired from Roseanne, Sharon Osbourne getting fired from The Talk. yada, yada, yada. But doesn't seem that Jessica Reed Krause cares for Candace. It seems like some of it does have to do with she feels like Candace rips off her content, I guess. I mean, it's kind of par for the course. As somebody that's been a content creator and been in this world for a very long time, people rip you off, people steal your content, people steal your ideas. I mean, the number of times people have sent me TikToks that I've done of other people repurposing those videos or repurposing my voice or whatever. Like, I'm just like, I'm not like, it is what it is, whatever. Can't control it. And if you do control it, you're going to go crazy in the process. So don't really have any skin in this game. It's just weird because she's just like, why are you talking about Blake Lively? Like, I guess Jessica Reed Krause is upset that Candace Owens is talking about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds in their whole saga. And Candace is just like, why am I not allowed to talk about that? Like, I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. I talk about whatever the story is. And she referenced Harvey Weinstein because that's her newest series. She references Brigitte Macron because that was the series right before Harvey Weinstein. And so she's currently doing her series of Harvey Weinstein. And I believe she's at some point planning to interview Harvey Weinstein because she says that even though Harvey Weinstein is very clearly an immoral man, she says that the way that the court system played out, and I've always said this. I don't know the details of the Weinstein stuff. I haven't looked at Candace's series on that. But I've always said, like, the reason people like Jussie Smollett or Bill Cosby get away is it's not necessarily because they are innocent or they're good, upstanding people, or Casey Anthony. The reason people get out are because of technicalities or when people try to jump through, hoops and abuse the legal system to put bad people behind bars. Right. And when you do that, then our legal system always can protect them in that same way because the law can be used to make sure that the law is designed to make sure that things are done in a just and fair way. You can't just lock somebody up because you think they're a bad person. Now, again, I don't know the details of the Harvey Weinstein stuff. As my understanding, Candace isn't a defender of Harvey Weinstein, but seems to be somebody that is speaking out against the way that Harvey Weinstein was locked up behind bars and how Me Too kind of played an effect in all of this and yada, yada, yada. But why are they making it public? Is this a PR move? I mean, Patricia, they're making it public because they're two public people. Oh, and then there's the Meghan McCain of it all. Yeah, because Meghan McCain got dragged into this. And then I was texting her yesterday. I'm like, girl, what do you do? Why are you in this? And she's just like, am I in it? Why am I in it? And I was like, I don't know. So I guess Meghan McCain is friends with Jessica Reed Krause from House Inhabit. They're friends. And so Meghan, I guess Candace took shots at Meghan and Jessica's like, Candace, you like always attack people and you called Meghan clinically obese. And then Candace is like, well, yeah, I called her clinically obese, but context matters. Why did I call her clinically obese? And she's like, I called her clinically obese because she was trying to, get mad at people for not getting the COVID shot. And she was like, and so because she was trying to like yell at people for not doing that, she was like, I was just saying people should probably listen to someone like Joe Rogan, who's all about health, rather than Meghan McCain, who's clinically obese. Candace's words, not mine. I love and adore Meghan. Not trying to drag you into this, but so Candace is like, context matters. So she didn't deny calling her clinically obese. But she was just like, there's a reason I called her clinically obese. And I was like, well, listen, that still doesn't make it very nice, Candace. And I think that was the point that Jessica was trying to make, is that Candace wasn't being very nice. And Candace is like, well, I don't say things to be nice. I say things to be honest and to be real and to lean on the side of the truth. So Candace has no regrets for calling Meghan clinically obese because Meghan and her husband were very much like, thinking that people were irresponsible for not getting the jab. Yeah. No, she didn't call her obese. Well, she did call her obese. Well, she said you shouldn't be listening to somebody. I mean, now we're getting into semantics. She said that we shouldn't be listening to somebody that's clinically obese. But who was she referencing? She was referencing Meghan McCain with the context of Meghan and her husband, kind of saying that Joe Rogan is not somebody that anybody should trust when it comes to health. Although arguably, I think the argument that Meghan was trying to make was we should listen to the experts who are saying to get the shot rather than Joe Rogan. So when Candace is like, we shouldn't listen to people who are clinically obese, I think they were sorting the experts who at the time were telling people to get the shot. Obviously, we know they were wrong. Some of us knew it a little earlier on and we're trying to say it and we're, deemed conspiracy theorists. Yada, yada, yada bullshit. But so, yeah. I mean, listen, and that's one of the topics that Megan and I would disagree on, right? So yeah, I can like Megan and disagree with her on stuff. I can like Candace and disagree with her on stuff. I could like Jessica and disagree with her on stuff. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Who's fighting? Um, you should learn. Oh, guys, don't fight. She referred to her as that, not as a name call. I mean, again, semantics, guys. Let's, just because Candace wants to say, I technically didn't call her that. I'm like, sure, the semantics are she didn't technically say obese lady, but she did say, I'm not listening to somebody that's clinically obese. She was calling her clinically obese. Like, let's not mince words and, parse each letter semantics, she had a reason for calling her that, and there was a reason why she called her that, but she did call her that, Experts were wrong about the jab. You think did you just fall out of a coconut tree? Where have you been? We're in 2025. Are you still in 2021? Yes. They said that it was I don't know, am I allowed to say these things on YouTube anymore? Am I gonna get I don't know. I mean, come on. We It's been debunked at this point. Is she clinically obese? I don't know if I don't know. Oh, look, see, Jessica says, she has long COVID and her doctor told her not to do it, not to get the jab. You know? Um, thank you. They have no clue. Okay. Yeah. Laura says, can we not debate this? Listen, I'm just saying that came up in the conversation. That's how we got onto this. Candace is very good at debating. Candace is very good at debating. Candace does she brings bazookas to the table. And I don't think Jessica Reed Krause is somebody that often gets into like big drama or spats with other people. And then there's somebody that used to work for Jessica. And then so Candace is like, I knew that you were trying to write a hit piece on me. And Jessica's like, actually, I wasn't trying to write a hit piece on you. It was somebody that worked for me because I guess there are staff writers that help her write her newsletter. And so just somebody that was working for me wanted to write the hit piece on you and I shut it down. So I actually did this to not put this out about you. And the Tate brothers and Candace is like, my husband isn't even friends with the Tate brothers. She's like, they've met a couple of times, but they're not friends. I don't know. Listen, if they are friends, I don't think they should be friends with the Tate brothers. And I think Candace Owens being notably quiet about Kanye West and his crazy antics these past couple of months, I'm a little suspicious of that too, girl. We're all kind of waiting for you to say something about Kanye because he's really off his rocker. So call it like I see it. So yeah. Tanya says House Inhabit's Substack was crazy last night. Was it crazy? What happened on the Substack last night? Was there something more that happened? Oh, yes. This is another part of it in relation to Harvey Weinstein is that Jessica Reed Krause is friends with Jessica Mann. Jessica Mann is one of the women that helped Harvey Weinstein get convicted. So I think that has something to do with it as well. Carol says, Zack, I've been watching you for a while and look how you started as an autism mama bear. I love you even more. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Love you too, Carol. I mean, autism mama bear. I feel like now we're the mommy sleuths and the daddy sleuths. That's I feel like the term because it used to be the mommy warriors, and then now it's maha moms. But I kind of like mommy sleuths. I feel like it's a term that was meant to be a dig at all of us, and I feel like we should reclaim that and own that. Oh, Candace told everyone where she stands with Ye last week with Pierce. Oh, then I'm behind on the news. I didn't realize she had commented on that. What did she say? Aren't you glad that there's an issue with two of our content creators and that you and not me? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my. I thought so yesterday. Donna was ignoring me, and she was ignoring me, and she was a little mad at me, and that's okay. And it was a total blip in time, but I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Are we gonna fight?" I was like, "I don't want a public falling out with friends." And it was the stupidest thing, and we we're over it, and in 2 seconds because, like, friends have little tiffs, but I was just like, "Oh my god, the last thing I want is to be in another Up and Adam drama." I was like, oh, because it is kinda crazy, and I think who was it that said it? I think I was Colonel Kurtz had said it because she was like, "I've been in public drama before," and she's like, "You don't know how crazy you look until you're out of it." And so when you're in the thick of it, you're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And remember, and Adam and I were posting text messages and calling out Sheena Shea and calling out MJ, and like that was a whole debacle, a whole debacle. And so yeah, it was quite crazy, cuckoo, cuckoo, crazy. Did I hear that you and Adam made up? Sort of, I guess. Like, we did make up, but I mean, I wouldn't say that we're, like, besties like we used to be. He kind of, like, got a little salty because I called him out for putting out, like, a fake story about Blake and Baldoni, and I was like, "That's not a real story, and that, like, makes us look bad, like, maybe, just, like, vet these things ahead of time," and I feel like he kind of got a little salty about that because I haven't really heard from him since then. So, but, we're all busy. He's busy, I'm busy, we're doing our thing. Um, this isn't anything new for Candace over the years. Getting blown out of proportion. Oh, their beef getting blown out of proportion. I mean, yeah, I actually kind of agree that I think this beef has gotten blown out of proportion. I think it's kind of silly. It'll be done in a couple of days. Like people will forget about it unless they keep it going. But so yeah, they're fighting. They're doing their things. Okay. Karen was the one that provoked Candace. Who's Karen? Jessica? I mean, listen, I will say Jessica took the first shot. Absolutely. Jessica took a shot and said that, Candace was insinuated that Candace was stealing her content and was saying that Candace was only jumping into the Blake and Baldoni thing, that she's kind of like jumped the shark. What did she say? Floundering. So she was trying to jump onto anything. So, yeah, I agree. House and Habit took the first shot and Candace responded. And listen, one thing that Candace does is she responds, and when she responds, she goes hard. I relate to Candace in that way because I'm very much that same way. You say something about me, it's on. Gloves are on. Let's go. It doesn't take listen. Don't threaten me with a good time. And now, but like now, I like try to not get into public drama. But like, listen, you say something about me publicly, like the lady from Variety, the editor in chief of Variety, when she was like, "That's not true about Garcelle." I'm like, "You want to go, lady? Let's go," because I have sources. Jessica is coming for content creators because she feels like they're reporting the same thing she is, and that's where I disagree with Jessica. Right? I do like Jessica, but her being annoyed about that, it is what it is. If anything, she should see it as a positive because it only helps her and it continues to get her promotion. So like, it's actually a term of endearment, you know? Love it when you're activated. Thank you. Uh, I wouldn't get in a fight with Zack or Candace. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not afraid of Candace Owens though. Um, but I like Candace. I think her and I, if we were to ever beef, that would be wild. Like I wouldn't cower like House and Habit. How do you guys reply to people in here? It won't allow me. I think you have to like type in their name. So yeah. Can we all just play nice in the coconut tree, please? Yeah. You better be ready for my response. No filter. I won't start it, but I'll finish it. Yeah. I mean, I start it sometimes too. Ah. Brigitte says, "Oh my god, I would get tickets to watch a debate between Zack and Candace. That would be wild. Let's hope we never get to that. I might, I imagine a Zack and Candace collab. I like Candace. I would absolutely collab with her. How are you not at 100K yet? We're almost at 90K. Like, be sure to subscribe, like, do all the things so we can hit 90K, and then the goal will be to hit 100K for real estate. 100K for real estate. For real estate. For real estate. I think you have been on desktop to actually tag someone. Oh, yes, that too. Okay. Let's hope we do not get that. I know. A fight with me and Candace. That would be nuclear because her and I are so similar in that way. You don't back down to anyone. I don't. I'm not afraid of anyone. Please, not you and Donna fighting. Well, I mean, but that's the thing is we're friends, and so sometimes friends have tiffs. Collab with Candace, and you'll jump to 500K. I mean, I would love to collab with Candace. Tell Candace she needs to collab with me. Yeah, we've spoken. Yeah, we spoke about the Baldoni stuff. Zack, did you see my post about Inez? What about Inez? Oh, that Inez was a love interest, and Inez was the name of a love interest. I don't know. I don't want to get into that because that to me is just kind of creepy and gross. Are you all good with Dave since your last video? Why would I not be all good with Dave since my last video? My video yesterday? Yeah, I'm fine with Dave Neal. Did he say something about why? Did he say something? Did he do something? Yeah, mommy and daddy said they're better. Yeah, listen, it was literally sorry when I said like fight, like it was like a teeny little blip. And it literally was nothing. So yeah. Is Judge Lehman going to drop a reply today? I mean, Lehman, let's go. Get on it. Okay, that's all I got for you. Thank you guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend. I will talk to you on Monday unless something groundbreaking happens over the weekend. But love you. Appreciate you. Leave an Apple Podcast review if I can ask for anything outside of like a subscribe on YouTube. I would love, love, love an Apple Podcast review if you're listening to this show on Apple Podcasts. It's so easy. You can just, I mean, even if you just want to leave a rating, 5 stars, you can do that. You don't even have to write the review if you don't want to write the review, but I would really, really appreciate that. I'll give shout outs on the podcast on Monday or Monday or Tuesday of next week. So stay tuned for that. Let me give a shout out. I'll give a little shout out right now, but please continue. There's a new episode of the Pop Report that's out right now. If you guys want to tune into the Pop Report, do a quick shout out. This one comes from Chelly1, new subscribed fan, found Zack on Juicy Scoop. Yay. Oh my God, I love Heather. On Juicy Scoop, checked out his pod and immediately subscribed. Love all the new episodes. The info is clear and researched well. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Goodbye for now. Love you. Appreciate you. Go leave me an Apple Podcast review because I would really appreciate it. Okay. Thanks, guys. Bye.